This week, Genre Tags again, spring cleaning wrap-up, the Visual Archives art contest, and we'll talk with filmmaker Andrea Joshua Asnicar about There Is No Antimemetics Division and what may lie ahead in the world of live-action SCP filmmaking. Since our last episode, at least 5 Earth-directed coronal mass ejections associated with several large solar flares have been observed, making the aurora borealis visible as far south as Alabama. SD Locke denied any involvement, but your mom heard coronal mass ejections on the news and decided it was finally time she started wearing a bra at 7-Eleven.
Goddamn time.
I'm Kelsey.
I'm Noli, the K is silent, and this is SCP Weekly. For those wondering, don't worry, Cassie didn't abandon us, because apparently going to New York to visit her family is more important than being with us, so fuck us, I guess.
We're getting ditched a lot for family lately.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, I mean, what? Just because, you want to see the people that, helped raise you and shape you your entire life, it's better than spending, like, a couple hours with your friends? I mean, come on.
Right. Yeah, Cactus's brother and grandma, Cassie's kids, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Fuck your kids on Mother's Day.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
What have we been up to for the last 2 weeks since we're not the kind of losers that have to spend time with our kids on Mother's Day?
Work.
Did you quit your job yet?
Oh, not yet. Not yet. It is. Yeah, I am continuing the trend of looking for new jobs every few weeks. Well, it wouldn't be like that if they, didn't cut hours to the point where I have to work 6 days a week just to make, full time. Also the fact that, my job doesn't have any benefits, so.
Yeah, benefits are a big plus.
Yeah.
So are you looking?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've applied to a few places. One's looking to, interview me Monday, for a warehouse position. One that helps you get forklift certified. So hopefully that's more money than what I'm getting now. So.
Yeah, that's the ultimate panty dropper right there. Not that you care, but hey baby, I'm forklift certified.
Just my Tinder blowing up. Oh my god, he's forklift certified. But yeah, for anyone who's listening, I might be forklift certified, and I'm single, and I'm very funny. I have a great personality. Please give me a chance.
Single and ready to tingle. I mean, mingle.
Yeah, or tingle, whatever's consensual for you.
That's exciting. Well, yeah, keep us in the loop on how the job search goes. You said you have an interview tomorrow?
Yeah, I am more hoping about 2 other jobs. They're housekeeping jobs, but they pay like 15, 16 an hour. They're literally right around the corner where I live. So it'd only be like a short 10-minute walk to get to work if I got one of those jobs. So maybe not glamorous, but it's not above doing any kind of job as long as pay is good. You don't treat the workers like shit.
Yeah, and 10-minute walk from home ain't bad. That ain't bad.
Especially when you don't have a car like me. Yeah, I won't have to spend fucking at least $1 every day using the bus because, we don't have free public transportation.
Well, I could go into about a half-hour tirade of what I've done for the last 2 weeks, but I'm just gonna do this. Out of all the things, so I've redone my entire studio. I've turned my recording booth into a recording and editing booth, multi-purpose. I got new computer, new hardware, new software, switching from Filmora to DaVinci Pro, switching from PC to Mac. All that shit doesn't matter. This is my favorite thing. I'm going to show you my favorite thing. Oh, will it go? Will it let me? Better. This.
Your microphone.
The Rode, the stand. I've had this microphone for years, but for almost 4 years, I've been fighting with a mic stand that doesn't stay where I put it. Like it droops and it'll just start to sink. And anytime I get a position where I need the mic to be, I have to prop it up with something, or I have to tighten down a clamp. Or this thing right here stays where you put it. And I love it. Yes. I didn't think I would be as excited about a mic stand as I am, but oh my God, I'm so excited about having this thing in front of me right now. I had to drill a hole in the table to mount it. Worth it.
Damn.
Absolutely worth it.
The joys of being a podcaster for you.
Oh man. I like the other one is like laying in a trash heap in the corner. Like I love it. It did what it was supposed to do for 3 years, but this is my baby now. That's it. Well, there was what else did I do? Oh, I started cinematography classes. Oh, bro, like so my master's degree, I chose an MSM over an MBA because papers or group projects, which would you rather do? Fuck group projects, I'll write papers. So for 10 years it's just been paper classes. Now that nope, not a single paper is due in this class. It's all filming, and I'm happy about it, but at the same time, holy shit, there's so much filming involved. Like 15, like first assignment, go film 15 subjects, 5 seconds a piece, 3 times, and then change your camera settings every time and write down your camera settings, which doesn't seem that bad. Bro, that's 45 different shots. That's writing an entire line of information down in between each individual shot. Take a shot, set it down, readjust, take a shot, set it down, readjust. And I know what they're doing, but god damn, it's a lot of back and forth, work. Then the editing that's involved, because you have to turn in the assignment, you have to edit it all together. I got to put titles on the screen, and so that's probably going to be a solid 3 or 4 hours of just sitting there editing videos that don't make, and they pick a subject, so I'm out taping flags at the cemetery. They move, cool. I signed up for this. I can't be mad. I'm not bitching, but wow, that's just a lot of filming.
Yeah, I mean, who would have expected filming in a filming class?
Right? Who saw that coming?
Yeah.
I love it though. I'm living the dream. Ready to do news?
Yep.
All right, let's talk about SCP Genre Tags again. Staff member Parallel Potatoes posted a new thread on the site forums following up on the recent discussion they started on adding genre tags to main list articles. According to Potatoes, in the previous discussion post, a few issues with adding the tags were brought up, as well as a few potential solutions. A summary of the potential issues and proposed solutions mentioned in the previous 05 and 04 posts follows. Issue 1. The tag team will likely never have the ability to tag all articles due to sheer volume and mod tool locks on Series 1 and 2. Proposed solutions. Only have the tag team focus on newly posted articles, allow authors to self-tag their own articles with genre tags. While not a solution, it has been mentioned that waiting to revisit adding genre tags to SCPs will only result in this issue getting worse down the road. Issue 2. Tails are still not done being tagged. Proposed solution. Wait to start putting effort into older SCP and GOI tags until the tails are done, while still tagging new SCP and GOI articles. Issue 3. Some of the existing genre setting and style tags do not apply to SCPs. Proposed solution. Apply the genre and setting tags to all articles while using style tags only for GOI formats and tails. Issue 4. Some articles might exceed Wikidot's tag limit. Proposed solution. Create a tag priority system for what tags can be left off if there isn't space. Issue 5. International branches that mimic the English branch's tagging system might struggle to keep up. Proposed solution. Branches could determine on their own whether they want to include genre tags for SCP and GOI formats. The English branch can provide updates to English tag lists to international branches. Finally, Issue 6. Genre tags may create an atmosphere where readers tend to read what they like rather than like what they read. This might encourage certain authors to write one genre to cater to reader preferences and build information cocoons. Proposed solutions. There are no solutions proposed. I just have a quick editorial note on that last one. Readers already read what they like. There's nothing systematic that you should do to try to influence reader behavior. This isn't YouTube. This isn't network TV where you turn it on and something's on the screen and you watch it and decide whether you like it or not. There are readers out there who hit the random button and read a random article, and then they decide whether they like it or not. But the majority of readers on the site, they're searching for something specific, and this system is what's going to help them do that. Don't try to control what readers read. Don't try to control what readers like through changing the rules in the process. I strongly caution folks to stay away from that one.
If you're an author or artist who regularly uploads content to the wiki, you might need to know this. Psychic Programmer made the following announcement in 19 Chord on May 10th. Quote, if you are using an ad blocker, a recent update to the ad blocker filter list may have resulted in the file upload page not loading. This means you cannot upload any files to the site. To remedy this, you can temporarily disable your ad blocker when uploading a file. Alternatively, you can add a filter to the My Filters section of uBlock if you're using that. This also occurs when the ad blocker function on Ghostery, but site staff has not found how to add an exemption string for Ghostery. If you can make one, please contact a member of tech staff. Please note that making this change is something you do at your own risk. We don't have any control over Wikidot, and we also don't know why this script was added to the ad blocker's block list. It may have been because it was used in serving ads, or it may be because of vulnerability not known to us, or it might just be some other reason altogether.
After extensions for submissions and voting, the Dear College Spring Cleaning event wrapped up on May 1st. There were 15 entries in the Cobwebs category by Complete Indie, Uncle Nicolini, Pepper's Ghost, Ip, Anorak. I haven't seen that name in a while. Fairy Doctor, Jackal Related, and others. There were 4 entries in the Junk category by Pentagon, Strange Matter, Non-Aggress, and Ethagon. The event gave authors a no-pressure opportunity to revisit old concepts and improve them, and to donate their old drafts to other authors to finish. The event was not a contest and was promoted as a group writing exercise. It's not a contest.
It's not a tumor.
It's a teratoma.
Submissions wrapped for the Visual Archives Art Contest on May 1st. Entries are not yet available to view on the wiki, but they can be found on various social media platforms by searching hashtag SCP Visual Archives. The judges panel, composed of CUZ, Emotional Entropy, Luxiaco, For a Tiefling, Pentagon, Rat King 666, Sugar Rush, and Uncertainty Crossing, have until May 15th to judge all the entries. I apologize if I mispronounced anyone's name. Winners will have their art displayed on corresponding hub pages until July 1st and be announced through the wiki's official social media platforms. Good luck to all the entrants.
Good luck. I'm looking forward to seeing the results of that one. The Discord critique team has decided to bring crit flights to Discord. If you want to participate, simply create a new post or post a new comment. Don't use reply in the original thread linked in the show notes with a quick sentence about why you would like to be part of the mentoring process. Anyone can request consideration to be an officer. Newbies and veterans alike are welcome to submit their names. Officers deemed ready by their commanders will be given green lighting privileges if they don't have them already. Officers deemed ready by their commanders may be put forth for consideration for the Moth Squad roster. Provision of the rewards is up to commander discretion. Happy birthday to Suzit and Napik. They both celebrated birthdays earlier this month. And what do we have for new skips and tails these last 2 weeks, Nolan?
We currently have 19 new SCP articles with 7 over 50, and there are 20 new tales. Find any that you liked?
No. I mean, it's not that I read them and didn't like them. It's just that the last 2 weeks have been such a whirlwind for me. I haven't had much time for reading.
I did manage to, read a few in the past 2 weeks that really did catch my eye. One of them I'll give a shout out to is SCP-8499, Echoes of the Barren and Broken, which was co-written by Miss Lapis and Strange Matter. This is continuing their own series of articles trying to further expand the lore of Amoni Ram. Specifically, this one essentially being about a physical location that essentially has you experience someone or something else's memories. And it's quickly learned that these memories that you're looking through are actually the memories of Mechane. You're viewing it all from her eyes as, she falls to the earth after an apparent battle with her siblings, the other deities, and is basically found, and, we're introduced to the original Robert Bumaro and his wife, who find her, who essentially, it starts off as, innocent enough, they're poor shepherds, they're disabled, they don't know what this thing is that they found, and they find that, it actually, gives them artificial limbs that they've been needing. It helps Bumaro by giving him, a new leg. It helps his wife see who was blind before. But then it gets much darker as Bumaro finds this to be a big opportunity for himself and just takes and takes and takes. It's very detailed in how it is of imagine just these little creatures that just find you. You're battered and broken, you can't really do anything, and then they start tearing you apart. It's taking apart your skin, your veins, your organs. It's there's a dissociation because Mechane is more or less a machine entity, but it would be downright horrifying for anything. And the worst part is that she can't even stop it. She can't do anything. Bumaro's wife tries to help her or comfort her, but it just shows his quick descent into just this insane, tyrannical dictator, to both controlling his wife and, controlling the goddess that he claims to worship. Until the very end, when Mechane is essentially nothing. Nothing more of who she was remains because of this man.
Yeah. So you talking about that reminded me. So I did read one. I did, and it was Rounders. Oh my God, it was the Hall of something. Listeners,
The Hall of the Empresses.
Yeah. So
that was also by
one,
Lapis.
Oh, that was by Lapis. I thought that was Rounder. Oh,
no.
Okay.
Rounder gave his seal of approval for them.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, Lapis also wrote Hall of the Empresses.
Yeah, so I read Hall of the Empresses, and it was really, really poignant. But so between Lapis and who is the other author?
Strange Matter.
Strange Matter. Okay, I'm gonna throw a hot take out there. I'm not enjoying it. I don't. It's not that it's a bad read, but listen, you read the Hall of the Empresses, and it's a lot about Bumaro finding the voice and using the voice to impose their will, because there's multiple Bumaros, and it covers like multiple generations of Bumaro. And honestly, man, I'm just kind of getting sick of it. It's vogue to hate men. You really could write men a little differently there, couldn't you? You could give an example of what it's like to be positively masculine, but it's a lot more cool to write men as pieces of controlling shit, isn't it? Isn't it? So
Yeah.
that's my challenge to the authors out there, especially on this Bumaro spin. Like, cool. Like, okay, we have an antagonist. It sounds like in the masculine, no matter who the Bumaro is, what does a good dude look like? What does healthy, positive masculinity look like? Show us that. Show us what your idea of that is, instead of just fucking trashing on men. Again, like I said, hot take. Cancel the fuck out of me. I don't give a shit. I call myself nobody for a reason. I'm nobody, but this is my opinion, man. I'm kind of getting tired of it, honestly. As a dude who lives in the masculine, who tries to be a positive masculine influence on my family, on my wife, on my daughter, it gets fucking old. It just gets old.
Yeah. And I don't think that, like, and I'm not saying that's what you're saying. I don't think Lapis, Strange Matter, and any other authors are intentionally, like, trying to make, like, a anti-men narrative. Like, I think it's more of, like, it's more of a reality that women and female representing people have to deal with on the daily. It's not that, you know, they actively hate men. Some do, but, you know, whether or not they're justified in that is a whole thing. But it's more that they can't really help but feel like that. It's like what you're saying. Like, there's not really a lot of positive representation on what good, healthy masculinity is like in media. And I definitely believe we need more of that. It's like more representation to help show men about what it means to actually be a good guy. And I think a little bit of what a bit of a disconnect, in my opinion, of is, and not saying you're doing this at all, but of some men, you know, seeing the discourse, like the current one that's been going around the internet recently of, would you rather be alone with a man or a bear? And a lot of women or female representing people choosing the bear option because, you know, they honestly can't really trust themselves, you know, around a man.
Well, they can't trust the men around them.
Yeah, and it's not, and I think it's really some people that I've seen that have reacted harshly about that, of saying like, oh, like, well, I'm a good guy, like, why wouldn't you want to be around me? And it's like, well, it's not about you specifically, though.
Yeah.
It's more on, like, the reality is that a lot of men have kind of really fucked things up for everyone. For, you know, women and living in an everyday reality where they're, you know, constantly terrified if they're, you know, alone or even in groups. Like, it can be a terrifying experience. And what really needs to happen is to change not just a narrative, but really change the reality of like constantly portraying what positive masculinity looks like in media, and you know, countering all the bullshit of like men's rights or whatever the fuck other, you know, bullshit conservative responses say about that, of like, oh, nobody's a real man anymore. It's like, yeah, you were never a real man in the first place. You were just a piece of shit.
When men in media are portrayed as stupid and incompetent, and either on either end of the spectrum as stupid and incompetent, or as, you know, abusive and violent, right? What are men supposed to model themselves after? What, you know, like, if, and I understand and I sympathize with the perspective, you know, that women, female presenting people in society don't feel safe in those spaces. But if you constantly tell men that's what they are, if you constantly tell men, if society and culture from the narrative, and there is a narrative, and I'm not saying I'm not saying that Lapis and Strange Matter created that narrative, but they definitely jumped on board, right? If that is the societal narrative, right, the thing that the culture is telling our subconscious, right, our collective subconscious as masculine men, if that's what society is telling us that our story is, we're either going to rebel against it in whatever way that, and I say we as, you know, the masculine presenting men, we're going to rebel against it in one way or another. And that's going to be either to fuck you, I'm out, or if that's what you say I am, and if that's what the culture and society thinks I am, fuck it, I might as well be that. And I don't think either of those things is healthy, but I see that happening more and more often. And I think it's very important, if anybody's listening, hey, keep writing that stuff, Lapis and company. It's amazing writing. I'm not saying what you're writing is a bad story. I'm not saying what you're writing is a bad narrative, but there's so much of that out there. Jumping on board that narrative, cool. I think that got you some points, and it got you some fans, and it got you some updates. Let's do something that's not popular and maybe give men something positive to aspire to. And that's not just in the SCP community. This is where we're at, and it can start here with us, but in greater culture in general, because the man versus bear argument, that whole man versus bear argument was a response to a previous argument that was made, and that one got all played out. And there was another argument before that went all across TikTok and Twitter and all the social media that was like, men are bad and I would rather, you know, eat a turd than whatever, right? And now we're at, I would rather, a bear will disembowel you indiscriminately. The casual brutality that you would face by meeting a bear in the woods, first of all, I think a lot of the people, again, hot take, cancel me, fuck you, I don't care, that a lot of the people, a lot of the women presenting people who are saying I would rather meet a bear in the woods than meet a man, first of all, have probably never been in the woods. They have absolutely no idea the casual brutality that a bear can bring on you. And third of all, here's another hot take. If you meet a man in the woods, he's probably not any kind of man that you've ever met before, especially if you've never been in the woods. Because a man who spends his time in the woods alone is not the kind of man that you're scared of on the street. If and you know, somebody were to ask me the question, would you rather your daughter meet a man alone in the woods or meet a bear alone in the woods? Absolutely, without any doubt, I would rather her meet a man alone in the woods, because I grew up with the kind of men that spend time alone in the woods. My dad, if you put a number, I would say probably at least 25% of his life he spent alone in the woods, and I would trust that man with any woman I know. So stop shitting on men just because it's fun to shit on men. Stop shitting on men just because it's socially acceptable to shit on men. Men need role models. Men need positive things to aspire to. Men need heroes, and we don't have a lot of those good heroes. And when we do get good heroes that stand up and say, men, do good things, people find shit to talk about them. They dig shit up from the past, and all of a sudden they're a piece of shit now, and we've just lost another one. Fuck. What do we do? I don't know, man. That's a tirade for me, but it hurts. It really fucking hurts me to see that happening to men right now. It hurts to see the shit that's happened to women happen to women, but that's bad men, and that's good men letting bad men get away with that, and the good men who are letting bad men are just like the good cops who let bad cops do the bad things. Like, fucking stop it. Call that shit out and put a fucking stop to it when you fucking see it. I've done it before. I probably haven't done it every single time that I should have done it in the past, but god damn it, now I'm a whole lot more fucking aware of when I should say, hey, knock it the fuck off. Right? If that's where this is going, then fucking say it, man. Don't just say dudes are fucking worse than bears.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking... No, you're totally fine. I would say, like, if we're talking about, like, any kind of, like, positive male role models, like, to give that kind of good masculinity in media, like, personally, I would probably say, like, Kratos from the God of War series is probably, like, a character to, like, look at and analyze, because, like, his whole journey is, like, really something to, like, study and actually try to learn from in real life, because, you know, starting off, he was like, you know, and besides, you know, going into you know, his whole vengeance spiel for, like, the original God of War games, you know, he wasn't really that best of a man growing up either. He was, you know, growing up in ancient Spartan society, which, you know, if any history or anthropology majors who have looked at that, not the best society that, you know, some do-bros might make you think it was. A lot more North Korea than it was, like, America freedom. And so he's already had that implanted into him. But more than that, like, after the few positives that he had in his life, his wife and his daughter unjustly taken from him, he essentially, you know, goes off the deep end, like how some men do, basically saying, like, oh, if this is what you want me to be, then I'll be the absolute best / worst version of that, and ends up destroying his entire world by the end of it. Which even by the end of the, you know, original trilogy, he's realizing, like, oh god, what have I done? That I caused all this needless destruction. I was only thinking about myself, which is what causes his transition into the, you know, sequel / soft reboot series of him, you know, living in the Norse realms, basically trying to live a quiet, normal life, trying to get away from who he was, like, not necessarily really working on changing, but trying to hide who he was. Like, he's terrified of letting his son know who he was, which already strains their already strained relationship that they have, because he's scared to let anybody in. He already lost one kid. How is he supposed to, you know, be that good of a father to another?
Yeah.
And you see him opening up. Yeah. And you see him opening up more and more through that, you know, first sequel game and through Ragnarok, of slowly opening up more and more about himself to his son, saying, like, this is who I was, this is what I've done, and realizing that, you know, being open about that, being open about who you were, what you've done, is the first major step in breaking that cycle. Because his son was already starting down that same path. He already was, like, seeing that arrogance, that, you know, needless choice for violence when there isn't any reason for it.
Yeah.
And he nips that in the bud, because he's choosing to be better. He's actively choosing to become something better. And it even goes further in Ragnarok, to the point where it's like, he's actually, like, fully apologizing to his son at one point, of saying, like, I've recognized that I have been harmful, I've been hurtful, I've hurt you, and I have not been the kind of man that I should have been. I have not been the kind of father that I should have been. And I take responsibility for that. I take responsibility for how I've hurt you. And that even opens up to where at one point he sees his son once again emulating stuff that Kratos did taught him, but now he's realizing, oh shit, that was not the best way, because his son is now closing off to the pain of others around him, and he sees that's not who he is. That's not who his son is. He's actively denying his son to be who he is.
Yep.
And saying, like, forget all that I've taught you. Forget everything that I said. This is who you are. Don't stop being who you are for me or for anyone else. And it's a real positive transformation to what a man should be, of someone who isn't afraid, like, to fight when he needs to.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like people that he cares about are in danger, but it's someone who's actively choosing for peace every time.
And willing to die for it.
Yeah, like one, I don't know if mantra, but like lesson that is like given in, I think, Ragnarok is coming across an old statue of Tyr, and one of Tyr's old sayings is saying, like, always seek peace, but always be prepared for war.
Yep.
Like, if you really want some positive masculinity, and what that looks like, what that transformation looks like, I highly recommend, checking out and studying the character of Kratos. My tirade is now over.
Having a minute to cool off and kind of think through it, and really thank you for that. Kind of what it boils down to in the positive masculinity, and I think femininity too. Masculine energy and feminine energy can be presented by anybody, no matter what kind of body parts you have. And no matter how, like, sexually oriented you could be, right? The masculine energy and the feminine energy, and I'm a cis man. I'm a straight cis man who presents as, like, pegged out on the masculine side. And what it seems to be for masculine and feminine is, where is the focus of your energy? Are you using that energy, whether it's masculine or feminine, to serve yourself? Or are you using it to serve others? That, and the phenomenon that seems to be happening in society and social media is toxic as fuck. Like, and most of this is just spreading across social media, people jumping on bandwagons, and just exacerbating the hate, really. When you force men into a position where they have to defend themselves, guess where that focus turns? To me, I'm in a defensive position, and the further you push anybody, whether it's men or women, masculine or feminine, into a corner, the more that focus is going to turn on my well-being and my welfare. And that's exactly the opposite of the effect. That's the exact opposite effect that we should be trying to achieve. We need to encourage men, both men and women, masculine and feminine, to turn that attention outward instead of trying to serve and protect myself. My job is to serve and protect my family, my community, my extended community, as those tribes get bigger and bigger, my state, my country, my world. That's where the positive masculinity comes from. So a challenge to authors, if you're listening, write us some men like that. Write us some men that show us an example of a masculine man that is serving his family. He's serving his neighbors, his community, his tribe, his city, his country, his world, his universe, his corner of the whatever it is, with that healthy masculine energy. I would love to see those role models and promote those role models, versus saying, well, a bear is better to meet in the woods than a man. Wow, that's just really diminutive. Okay, cool. Let's talk about how bad it is. Nice, and let's be done with that and fix it. Let's not talk about how to fix it. Let's fix it. And that's, for me, as a man, hey, if you're a masculine man that's listening to me, if you're a woman in your masculine energy and you want to know how to do better in the world, put your focus on serving others. Put your focus on protecting and providing and caring for others and making sure that they have the things that they need to grow. And you're living in that healthy, positive, masculine energy. Go for it. Do that. Anyway, that was a long rant on both parts. Thank you for bringing up God of War, man. I didn't even think about Kratos. That was a really good example.
Yeah, I love those. There's a whole bunch in, especially the new God of War games that goes in, like with the character of Thor, and especially of Odin, of being like, if you want to write like a real good villain, like Odin is something that you could look towards, of just like a master manipulator and liar.
Yeah, that's another thing that I was talking with my wife, different subject, but kind of on the same. It doesn't matter. This is just something that I've noticed, and it came out of a discussion in a sociology class about being autistic and some of the challenges that I've come across in academia, some of the challenges I've come across in professional life, and working, 20 years in the military, 20 or a year almost now in the civilian sector as a 1099 business owner. This is an observation. Prove me wrong. We love to be lied to. Like, we as people, as whatever the fuck lives inside our heads, inside our brains, we love to be lied to. If you look at, no matter what the hierarchy, whether it's a corporate structure or whether it's a military structure or whether it's a political structure or whether it's a church structure, the higher you get up that ladder, the better liars you will find. Think about it. Tell me I'm wrong. Prove to me that I'm wrong. The higher you get up those structures, the better liars you're going to find. And we fucking put them there. We put them there because we love to be lied to. And that's something and tell me if you relate or not. We may have different experiences, but I have a hard time lying. I have a hard time presenting my ideas or not presenting my ideas or holding back what I believe to be a vital truth to a subject. I have a hard time. I was being recruited by Boeing before I left the military, and one of the reasons that I chose not to join that corporate structure is because I could tell that they had a lot of secrets that they didn't want. And now it turns out, it's so far I've read, they've buried 2 whistleblowers. Fuck that. Fuck that. Somebody who tells the truth about safety issues that could potentially cost people their lives are dead and buried. We love to be lied to. We give power to the people who tell the best lies, and I think that's toxic about any society. And I've seen it across, it's not just American culture, I've seen it across other cultures too. And other cultures are worse. Like, you could talk shit on American capitalist society all you want. Other cultures, it's not just how good you are at telling lies, but it's how good you are at hiding the bodies. And that's applicable here too. Don't get me wrong. Like, that I've seen and walked away from industries where there people get killed in alleys for that contract. I know that kind of business happens here, but in other parts of the world it happens a lot more often. So I don't know if that's your experience, part of your experience with autism, but man, I have kind of come to the realization that I'll never climb the ladder the way somebody else will, because I'm just not good at telling lies.
Yeah, I think it's somewhat like that, because like I tend to be honest most of the time when I'm with people. I'm just kind of driven to just be honest. I don't know the reason why, but in my experience there's been a sort of, I don't know if it's pathological, but like a sort of built-in motivation from my own trauma to lie sometimes of, wanting to paint something as better than it actually is, because in my experience, when you suffer abuse in a narcissistic relationship, you try to lie, you try to just give them the narrative that they want, because that's easier, that's it's easier to just go along with something because it gives you less harm in the long run, or at least in the short term.
Or if you've been brainwashed or manipulated or gaslighted into believing that you're an absolute piece of shit, then it's sort of an instinctual response to try and represent yourself as, I'm not a piece of shit, because you walk around actually believing that you're a piece of shit. Yeah, that's a thing too.
Yeah, and just not even coming to the point where you don't even know if you're telling the truth or not. And that's more in my case of my trauma of, even when I'd be telling the truth, like over and over again, I'd say the truth. And I'm just gonna, give an example. At one point, several years back, but this was when I was sent away into wilderness therapy by my mother, the narcissist in this scenario. She told me that there were guns in her gun safe that went missing, and she was convinced that I had something to do with that before I was sent away. And like, in honesty, did
you question yourself? Like, did that make you actually question yourself?
Like, it did make me question myself a bit, because like in that moment, like, I do have memories of at looking at the gun safe and actually knowing what the combination was. But it was more of just like idiotic curiosity of just like, and a combination of being like severely depressed in, post college graduation, not really knowing where you're at in life, and plus on top of COVID, the pandemic having just started at that time too.
Yeah, that turned everything upside down.
Yeah, and just me, like, I did like look at the guns in there. There was one I remembered. It was a disassembled like shotgun, like nothing that could it was where like it couldn't actually hold shells in it or even fire in any way. But me, like, stupidly taking it out, like looking at it and like idiotically messing with it, but not like really like taking anything for myself, like setting everything back, closing the door. Remember that I do remember like locking it, or at least I thought I did, and then just going back to my room, going to bed. But whenever I would tell her that, saying like that is all that I remember doing, that's all that I know that I did doing, she was convinced that like, oh, the rifle that was in there, like I must have stolen it, I must have hid it in somewhere, I must have sold it somewhere.
Yeah, so was it like, so were there actually guns missing from the safe, or did she fucking just completely fabricate that? I honestly use your little bit of guilt for sneaking a peek and touching, like, obviously, like you were doing something bad, you were being a little bad and checking out the guns in the gun safe, and there's that little twinge, and did she just kind of sense that and be like, you piece of shit, there's guns missing from the safe and you fucking did it? Like, is that what happened? Or were there actually no shit guns missing?
I honestly can't validate it for sure. It's her word, about like whether there's actually guns missing or not. But she would say like, oh, you probably sold them to get like extra money or anything. Like, Like, first of all, I wouldn't even know where to even sell a gun besides maybe a pawn shop, but I have like I don't even know how I would go out accessing that during the day.
Yeah, and if you sell it at a pawn shop, it's pretty easy to find. Pretty easy to figure that out and verify it.
Yeah, and I would be telling her, I would basically saying like, no, I didn't. I would say like, tell her what happened, and I would say like, no, I didn't steal any of the guns. I didn't sell any of the guns, and I would tell her that over and over and over. But constantly, it would just be, oh, I don't believe you. Oh, you're lying to me. Oh, why don't you show me, you know, the real you for once? Which fucking bullshit thing to say to someone. But it came to a point where I just got tired of it. And so I just decided, you know what? I'm just gonna tell her what she wants to know. I just want to end it.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, so I said, okay, yeah, I sold a gun to a pawn shop. Oh, I don't remember the name of it. It's all kind of a blur. Like, a bullshit thing that you can obviously tell was a lie, but she just immediately went with it because it fit her narrative.
Yeah, it's like somebody is getting tortured, man. You'll tell somebody what they want to hear just for some fucking relief. Just like, here, yeah, fuck, I did it. Big boy did it. Fuck. Yeah. That sucks, man. That absolutely fucking sucks. Because, like, I have guns in a gun safe, and boy, I tell you what, if they come up missing, they're like, I know how guns are. I have had certain dealer licenses in the past, and I know how guns are tracked. That gives you a I know, like, okay, cool. Eventually, at this point by now, you should probably already, but I can find it up to that point. I can find that motherfucker up to that point. And if it went through a pawn shop, if it went through any kind of dealer's hands, I'm going to find it. And to me, if this gives you any kind of indication, man, I hope it does. She was absolutely full of fucking shit or something. We're going to eventually, like, that's, I think.
Hey, if we didn't get ourselves canceled from ranking the races, I don't think we ever will at this point.
Yeah. Ranking the races, religion, and now fucking masculinity. Oh my God. That's the headline. Well, fucking, I'm nobody, man. We got this little rinky dink show. Fucking people. If somebody wants to cancel us, that's a mark of high achievement, I think, at this point. So now we honor one of the things, speaking of getting canceled, we honor one of the things that makes the SCP Wiki great. The procedures in place that remove works that don't meet community standards. Without these rules, there would be an overwhelming amount of bad articles to sift through to find anything good. Thus, we read and present these awfully written articles as if they belong to the main list and pay our respects to the ones that must die in the dark so that others may live in the light. These are Tales from the Deepwell.
Item number SCP. Object class Keter. Special containment procedures. There's no possible way of containing this creature unless you can make it vulnerable. But aside of not containing it, just run away as far as the facility. If you do manage to escape, you're one lucky bastard. SCP can go up to 150 miles per hour and jump through 18 feet with good vision. Description: SCP is an apex predator that can go up to 150 miles per hour and jump through 18 feet on walls, vents, and holes. SCP has rough fur skin and sharp tusks. This type of creature is a part of the species mammoths. It is not clearly a mammoth. The chemicals that it was used to transform this creature was dry cells of microorganisms and dead bacteria of dead SCP-001. This creature was taken away from its herd/family and gotten captured in SCP Foundation. Addendum: Incident -1A. It broke out of the Asset Containment Laboratory while getting attacked by workers. This beast has killed over 81 Foundation personnel before being attacked by 3 helicopters that Alpha 1 was using to contain it. However, it managed to escape into a nearby mountain range with the 3 helicopters found on the ground. A search party was then deployed to find the anomaly. Research Logs 1A. The Foundation was able to manipulate the creature into killing and eating its own kind. The Foundation wanted this species to be wiped off the face of the Earth due to their severe threat to humanity and the SCP Foundation.
Let's take a break and we'll be back with Offsite news and Andrea Joshua Asnicar.
Dr. Gray, what are you doing here?
Intern, I thought no one came to this closet. So this is where I go to read my real crazy fan fiction. And what's that you're reading?
It's, well, you're not dangerous, so I guess I can tell you. This is Confinement. It's a comic series. It's about a guy named Connor who respawns when he dies.
Really? That just sounds like a whole lot of bung to me.
It's absolutely not. It's actually really good, but I've been keeping it a secret for now. I don't want Dr. Bucket to get any ideas on dangerous tests he can make me do. Connor can afford to die, but not me.
Wow, that sounds excitingly veil-breaking. Do you know where I can get one?
Thanks for asking, Monica. All you need to do is look up SCP Confinement Kickstarter, and the pre-order page should be the first result. And even if you can't get in on the pre-orders, the comic will be for sale on the unredacted Etsy store after the Kickstarter ends.
Awesome! I'm already so excited to get mine. Ooh, maybe I can show them to Grim.
I'm Muckwell, the director of the reboot of the SCP Confinement show. I am working with a team of writers and artists to reboot the show. We are also working with some of the original voice actors such as Shirky, who originally voiced the character Dr. Powers, and hopefully more in the future.
And Koshi, writer and creative director of the SCP Confinement comic.
We are focused on making the show the best we can. Also, supporters get access to the members-only section of our Discord, being able to talk directly to the team, have priority suggestions, and get episodes up to 24 hours early. All episodes will go to Muckwell on YouTube, along with all previous episodes already being up there.
Thanks to Denotation Dolls by Dado. Dado received business proposal from Max, who work at the Spooky McDonald's. Dado understand value of cooperation in modern business and agreed a team project to bring coming to the customers. Dado very proud of accomplished this product. Sadly, Spooky McDonald's boss disagree. If you like this content, then hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications for the channel. If you're watching on YouTube, that's what the algorithm likes, and it would really help us get the word out about what's going on in the SCP community. If you want to support us beyond that, you can sponsor the show at patreon.com/scpweekly for as little as $2 a month. Let's go Offsite.
Yeah. In the world of SCP gaming, GIB Games has released a new video regarding their upcoming survival horror, SCP Infohazard, introducing the community to the character of SCP-166, the daughter of Dr. Alto Clef. 166 will be voiced by Anna Maguire, better known to the community as Radiger, who gives a hauntingly beautiful rendition of the Catholic hymn, Be Thou My Vision, throughout the video. For many members of this community, this reveal is practically a match made in heaven, as previously, GIB Games revealed SCP TikTok creator The Desk of Alto Clef as the voice of Clef in the game, with both he and Radiger as seen as the perfect live-action actors for their respective characters. Just how much Clef and his daughter are central to the game's story is still unclear, but you can follow as the game develops and support the creators. The link to the video will be in the show notes.
Y'all, go to the show notes and click that link and watch that video, because one thing that I can tell you about Radiger, credited as Anna Maguire, homie can sing. Homie can sing.
Dude, she can fucking sing. Oh my god. Like, I remember when on TikTok, she had a cosplay of SCP-166, and I don't know if it was this song. I think it was actually her singing the hymn "O Come Emmanuel," and it was so fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, she was decked out in like the Mary cosplay of like the like the Catholic uniform, having like the the makeup to sort of like antlers and everything. God, she is such a phenomenal singer and voice actor, really.
Yeah,
like,
yes.
If you guys haven't seen Find Us Alive, like, go find that podcast and listen to it. It's phenomenal.
Hymns for the Road. Has Hymns for the Road published?
I don't know, actually,
because Hymns for the Road had a big musical component in there too, and so if it's already published, I'll go and look and see. But I need to consume that, because that just hearing the preview for the game for Infohazard, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Radiger can sing.
Yeah. So, yeah, guys, check out SCP Infohazard and check out Find Us Alive and support Radiger on YouTube as she violently tears open a new asshole to bullshit content creators.
Hell yeah. In podcast, speaking of bullshit content creators, no, just kidding. In podcast, Gregory Carpin and Harry Blank celebrated the 30,000 download milestone for Simply Creative People. The show's a topical discussion featuring two authors discussing SCP articles focused on specific GOIs, genres, and events like contests and anthologies. They feature guest authors and talk about their creative process and inspirations behind some of your favorite articles. You can listen to Simply Creative People on Spotify, Stitcher, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Congratulations, guys, and many, many more to you.
Yeah, and also, when are you going to have us as guests on a future episode?
I've done one way early, like their third or fourth episode. Way early. Okay, well, to reiterate that, when are you guys going to have me as a guest? Like, am I not important enough? You know, I also have a podcast that has 170 subscribers on YouTube. Harry, Gregory, you guys really should tap into Nolan's encyclopedic knowledge of the wiki. It's like having a live version of Marv on, guys.
Oh yeah, I definitely understand that reference. Reforged, an immersive theater experience themed around the Church of the Broken God, kicks off 8 shows in LA this June. Visitors will piece together the mystery of the Blueprint, a holy relic of the church left behind by omniseer Robert Bumaro, who has disappeared. Civil war might break out among the church's various sects unless something can be done by our intrepid visitors. Reforged takes environmental as well as character-triggered story paths and uses a central competitive series of minigames to help decide which sect will take control of the church. The audience can interact with anomalous artifacts and people while delving into a sci-fi world of mystery and the unknown. It's not all fun and games, though. According to creative director Jacob Zorki, there will be tackling some deeper philosophical responses to the questions of despair and hopelessness in our own world. D-Sherm from Site42 Fanworks is currently hosting a GoFundMe to finance filming of the event. The current goal is $5,500. We'll put the link in the show notes so you can go support them. Reforged will perform 12 times throughout the month of June, with the first show on the 12th and a preview show on the 8th at the Hollywood Fringe Festival, Joyce Hall in Themely Arts, Los Angeles.
That's so they did one last year, and I don't remember the name of it, but Sherm went to that one. Sherman was M there?
Yeah, it was Sherman, Emotional Entropy, and Toad King Studios.
That's who it was, yeah. And those guys look like they had a ton of fun at it. I really enjoyed that. So if you guys support their venture in going and filming it, because number one, you're getting not only a theater production of an SCP the Hanged King, but is it the Hanged King, or was that last year? No, this is Makani. This is the Broken God.
Yeah,
and as big as Rounder, and we talked earlier about Amini Ram, the Bumaro legacy, all of the things. Robert Bumaro makes an appearance in this. It's really big and popular in the community right now. Let's get it out there. They're going to go film it. They're going to show you the experience. And if you're not able to make it to LA to the theater production, you can at least live it vicariously through these guys. So go to the link in the show notes. And even if all you can afford is $1, $5, go for it. If you can't, that's cool. I'll put some in for you. But if you can, Support those guys to get out there and film. SCP
Archives.
I know. SCP
Oh,
Archives
motherfucker.
SCP Archives has released 2 new episodes in the past 2 weeks, continuing their adaptation of the ABCs of Death anthology. Their most recent episodes were SCP-7179 E is for Eternity, about a seemingly eternal paradise. That is a massively creepy story written by Calibold. We talked about that a couple episodes ago. And SCP-7219 F is for Fallout. Really great timing for releasing that one, guys. The discovery of a quite literally buried GOC disaster that spells potential doom for the world. Yeah, you're going to get a lot of love from the Google search algorithm on that one. New episode releases every Thursday on Spotify and wherever podcasts are played. Check the link in the show notes.
I will say they do a very good job with their productions of that. E is for Eternity was very good. They do go with like utilizing like background noise to like kind of help illustrate more about like what actually is going on as they like give details into what's happening in this guy's eternal afterlife as they describe it. And F is for Fallout, they also did very well of really amping up the creep factor of the danger that this anomaly poses. Pacific, the showrunner for the show, everyone involved does a phenomenal job.
Wait, SCP Archives is a Pacific Obadiah joint? We've talked about this before, haven't we?
Yeah, Pacific F. Obadiah.
Yeah. There are multiple podcasts that I've listened to by Pacific Obadiah. I think one of them was it Marjorie's Garden?
Yeah, there's Marjorie's Garden, SCP Archives, Mayfair Watcher Society, which is a great podcast. If you guys love creepy shit like SCP, like that is a great thing to do. They even have a Class of 76 episode, not related to the SCP version, but still pretty good. And their newest one, Dead Space Deep Cover, which is a new series set in the Dead Space universe that follows a reporter as she goes undercover and joins the Church of Unitology in order to find out what happened to her missing sister, essentially giving longtime fans of the Dead Space series a real inside look on just what the fuck goes on in this insane cult from the inside.
Yeah, very cool. It's that, like, hearing that name associated with SCP, like every time I hear it, it's like the first time, and it's like, it's so cool that Pacific Obadiah is doing SCP shit, and that it's a whole channel.
Yeah, Pacific's a fucking phenomenal person.
Yes.
Yeah. And now our guest this week is the creator of the widely popular live-action series There Is No Antimemetics Division. Let's please welcome Andrea Joshua Asnicar to the show.
Hi, guys.
Imagine there is applause going on that will put it into yeah.
It's just me doing this. That's all it is.
That's enough.
So people might notice a little bit of a difference in my voice when we're recording, because typically we record at 10 p.m. Eastern time, or 9 or 10 p.m. Eastern time. We're 12 hours early today because to fit into your schedule, because you're in Italy right now.
Yeah, that's where originally I'm from as well. I remember the first time Nola reached out, he was like, do you want to do it this time? It's going to be like 2 or 3 a.m. in your country. And I'm like, I don't think that will work. And so what happened?
Let's try something a little different, guys. Let's meet in the middle.
Yeah, it's going to be a little different. 2 a.m. in the morning.
Let's do this. Where would be the middle globe-wise between us? So what time is it there for you right now?
Right now is 5:25 p.m.
5:25, so 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're 6 hours ahead of us.
Yes.
So we would be, somewhere in probably Greenland if we met in the middle physically on the globe.
Yeah, to be honest, it's been a bit it's always a bit of a problem, because I've been talking to other people in America. It's always been a bit of even the Antimemetics division premiere. They were set at a time. That was the last, it was the last time that I could make it before I fell asleep.
Yeah.
Basically, to just premiere it at a decent time in America, because I know that the fan base is there.
Did you actually fall asleep though? Like you said it late. That's a big deal. Did you get any sleep that night?
No, I did. Apart from one day that I missed. Actually, that's a funny story. I can tell after that. I missed the episode 4 premiere because I fucked up the schedule.
That's the one that went early, wasn't it?
Yeah. I can tell the story. I'll tell the story afterwards.
yeah. Let's do that. So let's jump right into Fact or Myth then.
Okay, so Andrea, to give us a little bit of an icebreaker before we start the interview, we'd like to play Fact or Myth with you. First, we're going to dissect the Fact or Myth that Fantem gave us last week, which are real doozies. She gave us the first one of, there was an apocalyptic death cult on my mom's side of the family. And 2, as a child, I was playing soccer and got hit in the back of the head, which rendered me temporarily blind. So now we gotta pick which one of those is the fact.
Yeah.
So
all three of us last week picked apocalyptic death
It's a
cult.
fact.
I was just, yeah, that's what we think it is. Like, because honestly, it would fit Fantem, to be honest. As someone who knows her, like, yeah, that wouldn't really be surprising for me.
So, a little background information on Fantem for you, Andrea. The first time we had her on the show, her truth was her dad was a cocaine cowboy, or her lie was her dad was a cocaine cowboy in Detroit in the 1970s. Because the truth is her dad was a cocaine cowboy in Miami in the 1970s. So this is Fantem. And immediately all three of us were like, your mom's side has an apocalyptic death cult.
Absolutely. 1,000%, yeah.
And that's the truth. I got the answer from Fam a little while ago, and yeah, there was an apocalyptic death cult on her mom's side of the family. And for my own safety, I didn't ask any questions after that. The less you know, the safer you are.
It also, what's funny? I feel like the craziest thing is usually the real one.
Yeah, that's the more fun answer is usually the real one.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what we get from Andre today.
Okay, 2 things. So the first one, I love wine, Formula 1 and MotoGP. And then the second thing is I started late my filmmaking career.
So you love wine, Formula 1, and what was the third thing?
I don't know if it's the same in internationally. It's called MotoGP, the motorbikes.
MotoGP? Okay.
Yeah.
And you started your film career late?
Yep.
Well, I'm going to say as a film school student who is 41 years old, I hope the first thing is true because you look considerably younger than me, and that may just be because you're an Italian and Italians have a notoriously better, healthier lifestyle. You might be older than me and just not look like it, but I hope you love wine, Formula 1, and MotoGP. For the sake of me, I'm going to make that my answer.
Speaking of Italians having it better, I just realized or remembered, I forget if it was last episode or the one before, the site where infamous fascist dictator Benito Mussolini was hung by an angry mob is now a McDonald's. So now you can literally enjoy a Big Mac at the exact location where one of the world's most infamous dictators shit himself as he died. And if that's not a power move, I don't know what is.
I can't remember. It probably is true, to be honest.
Oh, it is true. It was actually it's actually a McDonald's that you can actually go to.
Yeah, nice.
And I'm like, and we're just like immediately putting that on our bucket list of like
where they erected the Golden Arches, which is a monument to late stage American capitalism. It's there's so much in there. There's so much.
There's so much to break down.
Yeah. All right,
Anyway.
so just to recap, either Andrea loves wine, Formula One, and MotoGP, or he started his film career late.
Listeners, you can respond to that on our Twitter poll. Tell us what you think, and we're going to find out the answer next week.
When we have Mike Vale on. from
Yeah.
Cabin
Oh,
Tales.
right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
On
No, this is the thing everybody's here for.
Yeah. All right, Andrea, are you ready for your interview?
Yes, I am.
All right. Then I'll just go first with the questions.
Go.
So, first question. In our discussions, you've made it very clear that you are a very avid fan of the SCP Wiki. Can you tell us how you first became a fan? Like, how did you first come across it, and what really drew you in to love it?
Yeah, I think my first encounter with the SCP Foundation was, I want to say almost 8 or 10 years ago. Now I can't quite remember, but I think I was already in Australia at the time, because I remember reading up in English. So I was looking for like scary stories, mysterious stories, that kind of stuff, and I come across the SCP Foundation wiki, and for like, I think for a good minute, I'm like, oh, this thing is like real. This is like declassified documents from some sort of like agency or something. And then I read through it and like, oh, this cannot be real, and quickly find out that it wasn't. That I was amazed by the amount of stories that you can find into it. And being like a massive fan of H.P. Lovecraft and Eldritch horror and cosmic horror, you quickly kind of like gel very quickly with the SCP Foundation lore, because there's a lot of that kind of Eldritch horror and cosmic horror within the Foundation. I think at the time when I discovered that we were still at series 3000, or something like that, 3000.
Yeah.
They just started 4000. I can't quite remember. But and I remember reading a bunch of SCPs, but then kind of like put it aside for a bit and not quite follow up with it. It was when I decided to, which we can get to it later, but when I decided to actually invest way more into filmmaking, then I realized, oh my god, there is this depository of stories which are what I love about cosmic horror and eldritch horror, and I really want to make something like that. And so I went back to the SCP Foundation and I started reading through the entire entries. So it was quite some time ago, but I'll say that it wasn't it wasn't like I read an entry and then from there I was always on top of the SCP Foundation. It was a bit like touch and go up until the moment where I just lean into it completely, I'd say.
And so there was a moment where you leaned into it completely. What moment was that? Is there a particular article that grabbed you, or was there something like that was happening on the site, like a burst of growth that caught your attention? What got you to lean into it like that?
To be very, very honest with you, it was, and I guess like a lot of other filmmakers, for me, it was SCP Overlord. The kind of like, because I think even Royalty and SCP Overlord really brought the SCP Foundation on the mainstream on YouTube, especially towards like the tactical crowd in a way. Yeah. And I think that it was very hard if you were a fan of the SCP or SCP adjacent that you wouldn't not know. So you can't not know about SCP Overload. It was impossible at the time when it came out. And right now it has something like 23, 25 million views. And so when I was still in Australia at the time, and I wanted to invest in my filmmaking career and do something. And I was like, what can I merge, my passion for eldritch horror and having something that already has a fan base into it. Because one of the things that we want as filmmaker, we want people to see our work.
Yes. And
so if we make something and then 100 people see it, then you shouldn't really focus too much on vanity metrics. But I think it's important for people to, for us as filmmaker, to be able to show what we do to the world. And so I kind of went like, oh, I love SCP, and I've seen this, SCP short film Overload and how and the response that I get. Maybe I can merge these two passions, filmmaking and SCP together, and create something that people will want to see. And so that for me was the moment where I'm like, I merged. And also, it was another thing which in Australia I was doing a lot of business development. So I used to work for a company that does business coaching, and then I had my own business for 3-4 years. And so we were very used to think about niche, building value, giving value, building an audience, all that kind of stuff. And so there was a moment where when I read the Film Entrepreneur, which is a book by Alex Ferrari, which is the host of the Indie Film Hustle podcast. And I was like, it just, like in a flash, I was like, oh, obviously you can merge these aspects of business, like niche and building value and giving, before asking, all that kind of stuff, with filmmaking. And so I was like, what's best? The whole thing just kind of came together. It's like SCP Foundation. I love the cosmic horror, the Eldritch story. I love the SCP Foundation. Yep. There is a niche into it. I can build an audience with it. So Overload, this can get attention if you wanted to, and there is filmmaking potential into it. I was like, compressed everything together. And
so there was like a community where you already enjoyed the stories from.
Yeah.
You already had a passion for filmmaking, and it sounds like Overlord touched that. Like, it sparked the two things together.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I can not only, there's something to be more of a fan and something that'll reach more people in the outside, the what would you call them, like the outskirts of the SCP community.
Yeah.
But this is where I can apply my art and my craft and contribute to what we're making.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
Yeah.
And I think it's also I see it as an important point for filmmakers to do something that people already have a love for it, or that there is some sort of niche for it, because I know it's a bit cliche, but I don't think nobody wants to see your 25 short film about your coming of age story when you like that kind of stuff that's been overly done constantly.
Yeah, and nobody cares about you until you've actually done something to care about, really. So.
1,000%. And also, this is something that I've very much learned from business. Is like nobody cares about you if you don't give value to them as well. I think that's very important, which is the reason why I spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of my own money to show to the SCP Foundation that I care before asking for anything. And we have other 3-4 projects coming that we haven't asked for money, or we haven't asked for anything to the community, because I think that you have to build value first before you can, make an ask. Regardless of what the ask is, doesn't have to be money,
Yeah.
But I think it's very important to show that you care, because a community will not take you seriously, especially a community as strong as the SCP Foundation community.
Yeah, strong and tight knit, and well, they know themselves at least. So did you make? There is no Antimemetics division. You said thousands and thousands of your own. So no Kickstarter campaign, no GoFundMe campaign, no outreach for any kind of funding at all.
No, at all. And what I did was I did two SCP short film before Antimemetics. Oh yeah, every time. Sorry, balloons. I got something activated in my camera. I don't know what the fuck it is.
Congratulations! I don't know what it's for, but congratulations.
I don't know. It keeps coming. Sometimes it will come up, even the OK sign. Anyway, what I did was two short films about the SCP Foundation, which they were both from DJ Cactus stories, which I fucking adore. Like DJ Cactus is my favorite writer on the wiki. I did two of them very low budget because I was trying to test out how far I can push it with as little money as possible, to be honest, because obviously as a filmmaker, you never have any money. And also to try and dip my feet into it and start to give something to the community. And so we did Echoes of Yesterday, and then we did 10,000 Years. And then it came to a time I was in Australia for 8 years. After COVID, there was a bit of a shift for me, and I decided to come back home to Italy. And I realized that I had to invest a bit more and take a bit more seriously filmmaking. And so I ended up spending all the money that I had left before coming back to Italy. And then is when I decided to make Antimemetics Division and another massive SCP project is coming out in probably 3 months, is my guess. So yeah, I spend all my own money. Yeah.
So for any aspiring filmmakers or other creators out there, that's amazing advice. Like, give to the community before you expect the community to help you do what you do.
Yeah.
When you say you invested a lot of your own money, what kind of things were you in? Was that in gear? Was that in networking? What kind of things were you investing in?
First of all, I'm very open to talk about money, so I can break down numbers with you because I have no problem about talking about money, because I think it's important, especially amongst filmmakers, to understand how much something costs and where you should spend your money. And I also think it's important for the community to understand the level of commitment that someone puts into it when they go and film something. So for Antimemetics, in total, but this is counting $3,000 worth of post-production. In total, I spent, because it's in Australian dollars, so I'm converting them. I think I spent something like 27-30 grand, something like that. And
that tracks.
Yeah. And most of the money went to we have to look at the spreadsheet, but most of the money went to production design, so set design and but mainly set design and props and things like that, and locations, obviously. And I paid just a bunch of people on set, and I was very open with that with people that work for me. I was like, I am paying some people. If you want to volunteer, obviously we will, work around your schedule. And if you can come for 1 day or half a day, perfect. We'll feed you, we'll pick you up. We're trying always to build, again, as much value as possible for the people who are trying to help you out. Yeah. So I know I'm asking you to work for free. I'm not asking you to do long hours. I'm not asking you to do what you don't want to do. Just whatever you feel free to give me whatever you want. But we always say, we'll pick you up, we'll feed you, we'll organize everything for you. You just need to show up. And so basically that mainly the cost went to set design, production design, and locations, food and accommodation, obviously. And then I paid a bunch of people, but I paid Tanya, the main lead. And then I paid the sound guys, obviously, because, being a sound is like a thankless job. It's not creative. So yeah. That one, pretty much it. Because my DP, which is one of my best friends, he was with me from the start, and he had his own gear. We had the cool thing about working already in the industry in terms of, because we used to do like videos for businesses and video marketing for businesses. We already have so much gear in a way, and so we didn't need cameras or lights. To be fair, it's very funny. I gave fuck all budget to my DP, and he made the entire series with a camera, 2 tube lights, two like Amaram tube lights, I think, and a 300D, which is like a normal light. That's it. He did everything with that. I can't believe, I feel a bit of, I'm a bit ashamed that I didn't give him so much, but the idea was to put as much money as possible in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And not behind it. Because if you have great production design, if you have good actors, if you have great lighting and great location, you can film on a Sony Alpha series, or you can film on whatever, and it will still look good. So yeah, most of the money went into production design. It went in front of the camera, to be honest.
Awesome. Changing track a little bit. So we talked about like the spark that happened when you saw SCP Overlord, and that kind of drags you really into the SCP Wiki. It touched the filmmaker bone in you. Can we talk a little bit about your story? What brought you into filmmaking? When did that start? Was it you're 6 years old? What's your filmmaking story?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing for me was growing up where I grew up, because I come from a very small town in Italy, and it's a town which is placed in the middle of a valley surrounded by mountains. It's phenomenal, and we, being a small town in Italy, we have tons of legends and stories and myths in our community. And I think that growing up as a kid with your parents telling you the story, your grandparents telling you those stories, having like festivals where you encounter all those like myths and story, it's always it was always very always very it was an imprint on me, because it's, when you're a kid, you assimilate so much more than when you're an adult, and to me that was probably what introduced me to storytelling in general, and then the way that I like to think about not only my filmmaking career, but my career as a storyteller is that I want to tell stories. Then if the medium is film, or it's audio podcast, or is comic books or writing or whatever it is, the important things for me is to tell stories. And I think I leaned a lot into filmmaking because I did graphic design and art direction in Italy, and then I moved to Australia, and I started working doing like video content for businesses, and so naturally progressing into filmmaking. I've always been passionate, about movies and things like that since I was little, I guess. And with living with 2-3 families, because we live in a hotel. So my parents manage a hotel, and there's like 3 families within the hotel. And so I grew up with my cousin, who is the same age as me. And we used to do, we used to play constantly outside and building out stories and playing, and you're constantly making up things. So I feel like it's easy to become fascinated by storytelling if you go through this kind of thing,
Yeah, when it's in your blood the way it is, like you grow up, that's amazing to me, because it's not really a cultural thing in the States to we have our lore and we have our myths and we have our stories, but we don't have the festivals where we put those things. I think the closest thing we probably have is Halloween.
Yeah.
One night a year where the kids dress up, and it's more of a task based celebration where the goal is to get candy in the bucket, not to experience the story, of our lore and experience the stories of our myths. I think that's a really great place, and to say that it's in your blood, to me, is an accurate assessment.
I think so. And there are a bunch of stuff that you don't realize how weird they are until you've been overseas. Because, for example, I remember telling my friend that you have so in Italy we have Christmas on the 25th of December, and then we have the Epiphany on the 6th of January. And on the Epiphany, there is the we call it Befana, but it's like a witch that brings candy if you're being good, or it brings coal if you're being bad. And that happened on the 6th of January. But in my town and in north of Italy in general, what they do is they burn the witch. And so we will build a wicker man, and on the 6th of January at night, just fucking set it on fire. And so it is this massive wicker man in the middle of the town square. And then when you tell these things to people, they're like, "What the fuck?" Because it's such a pagan festivity in a way.
Yeah.
And which is it clashed with the idea of Italy as a Christian, Catholic Christian country.
Yeah.
And so we have all these weird things that you don't really realize how weird some stuff is until you actually get into Australia or wherever I would say outside Europe. I would say Europe is all like that. I think it's you guys and Australia, westernized English countries, that they don't really have.
Where you really separated from the pagan ways, that, because fire is such a great visual storytelling element. It's so real because you don't just see it, you feel it. It's not just bright, it's hot too. And when you're there and you're experiencing the fire and even seeing it on the screen, it brings another element. And so having that as part of a tradition, not like a family tradition, but a community tradition where we all get together and burn the thing. That's so amazing. Yeah,
it's crazy. You're you don't really compute it.
Yeah, it's, I would say bouncing off a bit of Kelsey, in my mind, the closest thing we probably have is celebrating our own weird lore or myths that we've created. One that comes to mind is the Mothman, because in West Virginia there's I forget which town exactly, but there's a literal statue of the Mothman to immortalize that's the legend of this creature that we've made up. I find that the idea of having celebrations or festivals of celebrating this creative cultural storytelling that we have in our communities, in our where we live. I find that so interesting and fascinating as a way to bring people together, which I personally don't think we have enough of in America, which I mean,
honestly, it's hard to think of it outside of ecumenical circles, outside of church pageantry, really. It's hard to imagine,
which is weird because you guys have the you have so much stuff in a way. I think apart from what's called the Appalachian.
The Appalachian.
Which is the oldest on Earth. I'm pretty sure. And you guys have a lot of, one of the things that I found as comparison that you have way more than us in Europe, or at least is more popular. They are haunted houses, hauntings in general.
Yes.
That kind of stuff. You guys have a lot that we don't really.
Yeah.
We don't really have in a way.
And I'll again, hot take. I gave a hot take earlier in the show, and I'll do another hot take now. One of the difficulties in that being in America and in westernized society, especially as a white person, is cultural appropriation. So America being the melting pot that it is, there's all these different diverse cultures that come to America and they blend in and they become a part of that. But it's difficult. 30 years ago, it wasn't so difficult, but today it is, to be especially a white person in America who wants to celebrate some of these what would be considered probably in Europe pagan traditions without being accused of cultural appropriation. So there's a fine line that you have to walk there to not get canceled for offending people for really the bottom line is, if I were me to go out, there would be a vocal, I don't know if it would be a majority or a minority, but there would definitely be people who were vocal about, hey, you don't have the right to do that. You're appropriating somebody else's culture. That's sort of something that we have to contend with here in America.
It's which I think is fucking crazy, to be honest, because I don't think that Day of the Dead, for example, the famous festivity in Mexico, I think it is, and I don't think Mexican people will have, if you go and party with them, if you go and celebrate with them, I don't think they have nothing against you. I don't think Chinese New Year, in Australia, because they have a massive, I would say not just Chinese, but like Asian influence, and they have a lot of Asian people in Australia. Everybody celebrate Chinese New Year, and they have no problem with it. I will say that the problem with cultural appropriation is when you take something and say it came from us, which that's not true.
Yeah.
I can't take the Cinco de Mayo or the Day of the Dead and say this is an American. It's not. It's not that. But if I have to celebrate with someone because I love the culture, I don't think that's cultural appropriation. I think it's just trying to that's merging the culture and helping each other out and celebrating something that if I really want to, I can understand. I think that's way better.
Because I think there's a real difference between participating in celebrating something that you genuinely find joy with or find interest with, you find a connection with through the community. There's a difference between that and trying to take it and alter the history and saying this is my thing. This came from me. When it's just trying to hoard it for yourself and say no, this is mine. This is nothing else's. And I think that's the main real problem when it comes to cultural appropriation. Going off of what you're saying.
And one of the real tragedies, I think, here, and not to cut you off, but I just had this thought. One of the real tragedies of the United States of America is Native American cultures. There's so much Native American culture that's been lost over the years, and really, what's left is very well hidden and very well protected, and it's a very rich culture with so many stories to tell but there's so much that's been lost over time. Yeah,
I think it's the same in Australia as well with Aboriginal culture.
The Aboriginal,
and they're trying. But then the issues that then you get into reparation and all that kind of stuff, which can be quite you're walking on eggshells, and if you're not into, I feel like if you're not, for example, I never understood a lot about Aboriginal culture in Australia, and I never pretended to know, and I never touched those stories, and I never really, because it's not mine. It's not mine. And so I feel like if I wanted to talk about something that's not mine, then you all have to get on the ground, get in the trenches, talk to the people, understanding their story, and connecting and build, going to the community and build with the community and give value.
And it has to be shared with you.
Yeah, 1,000%.
They have to share it with you.
In the same way that Scorsese and DiCaprio did with the Killers of the Flower Moon, right? So they went there, they talked to them, it was the community of I can't remember what tribe of American Indians was, but they were behind the filmmakers because they really tried to tell the stories. And so I think that's important. But probably it's a sidetrack, but I think I understand what you're saying, Kelso. I think that when you do something with I can understand why people get so upset when you do something with respect and by giving value, right? That's the thing.
Yeah,
important.
So there is no Antimemetics division. What specifically drove you to create that series? Like, what about it made you think, oh, this specifically is something that I want to make, not just as a short film, but as like a whole mini series that I want to create?
Okay, so this is what I think that probably I also wanted to talk about. The reason why. Okay, so first of all, Antimemetics, like the Antimemetics Division, it's a fantastic book. Like,
absolutely,
it's incredible. It's a beautiful story, and Quantum did an amazing job. And it's also
one of the best stories on the site.
Yes, it is. And I think, especially because it deals with a concept that's very, it's quite, so it's not like a monster, right? It's not like a monster. It's not SCP 096. It's not 105. It's not that kind of stuff. It's something that it's a bit more philosophical and it's very cerebral as well as a concept, that it makes for such a powerful enemy in a way. These ideas of anti-memes, of memes and anti-memes. And the reason why we choose Antimemetics was because when you read the book, it's a complete story. And one of my, I want to say one of my issue that I have with the SCP Foundation is that so the entries are great, right? But then when you get to the tales, the problem that the good things about the SCP Foundation is that it's a creative collaborative project, and everybody can add and help and create with other people, which is a massive pro for the SCP Foundation. On the other side, as a con, though, is that on a ship there is one captain. There's not like 10 captains, and so the idea of having multiple people working on one story usually takes the story in 1,000 directions, and it kind of loses the structure and the pacing that it's that you can find in novels and films and in storytelling in general. To give you an example, I've been reading through the Resurrection canon, the Alpha 9, post Pandora Box canon, and although the single entries of that tale are beautiful, the entire story as a complete story, it's a mess. It's a mess. I could not, I bought the Kindle version of it, and I stopped because it's just like it doesn't. There's no pacing. There's no clear storyline. Everything just goes into 1,000 directions. Yeah. And the things with Antimemetics is not that way. Antimemetics has a clear storyline and a clear goal around it, and so which is the reason. And the reason is because Quantum wrote the entire thing.
Yep, and it's cohesive as a series.
Exactly,
it sticks to itself.
Yeah, 1,000%. And it's the reason why some people, even in the comments of Antimemetics, were asking about MTF Omega or something, which is I think is an addition between the two things. I'm like, I haven't read those ones because I don't care. Like they're not written by Quantum, and even if Quantum maybe said they're good, they can fit into the canon, I don't care because it's not part of the same storyline in a way. And so that's why we choose Antimemetics. I read the book and I'm like, fuck yeah. Because I've done a bunch of entries from DJ Cactus, and the entries allow you to be more, to have a bit more interpretation of the story, and you can kind of do what you want because you take the central idea of what the entry is or the SCP, and then you can just build out a story from there. But the Antimemetics, you couldn't, right? Because you have the story there. And so it was easier for us to say, okay, let's do this one because it's an amazing story. And it also happened to be one of the most famous tales on the wiki as well, which doesn't, it helps when you go and do something that you want people to see, basically.
Awesome. Did you expect it to take off the way it did?
Absolutely not. No, because you always kind of like have a benchmark of what you do based on the last thing that you did,
Mhm.
that you did, right? So we did 10,000 years, and 10,000 years over a year or something got like 40,000 views. And so I'm like, cool, this might make like 100,000 views, you know? I was really blown away by the reaction. I wasn't expecting that much, especially from the first episode, which is, you know, like my favorite episode are episode 3 and 4, especially 4. But I was definitely blown away by the entire community reaction and the love for it, because, you know, I know as a filmmaker, like, I know it has flaws, you know, like I can see them everywhere. I'm just fucking looking at them like this, you know, but it's the love from the community was great, and we had amazing constructive criticism, which I love, and it's the reason why I love posting on YouTube. I think posting on YouTube is cool because people do not give a fuck about you, and so they will tell you exactly what they think. And if they have like a constructive criticism, they will give it to you. Obviously, you know, I only paid attention to the constructive criticism. There's been a bunch of comments like, you know, this is fucking shit, and I'm like, okay, you probably woke up, you know, like you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and you haven't gotten laid in, you know, a year or whatever, and so you have to take off your frustration. But it's and so that one I usually ignore. But the 90%, I want to say like 95% of the comments were very, very positive. Even with episode 2, which I fucking I hate.
So
But
episode 2 was the one that you said you had technical issues and you kind of had to deviate from the story a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh my
there's
God.
obviously some very strong feelings in there. You wanna talk about that?
Yeah. The issue. So basically, most of the Antimemetics division production was. So we filmed in, I think it was 11 days, consecutive, right, one after the other.
Yes.
and apart from like a couple of days which were designated for production design prep, so the art department will go into rooms and fix up the set. But we filmed almost one day after the other. But what happened is that they were mainly scattered, so they weren't filmed in chronological order. We started with the university location, which is the location for the Site 41. So you have episode 1, and then you have episode 3, and then you also have episode 4 within that location. So we filmed like that. Episode 2, it was instead filmed basically almost everything on location in one day, apart from the flashbacks. And the main storyline between Marion and Elle was filmed on this location, which we changed from, in the book is a boat. I'm like, I don't have the money to rent a boat, film on a lake. I can't do that. And so we changed it for a quiet, you know, country house with a lake. Yeah. What happened was that that day, so we slept there the night before, and then we woke up around 7, and my DP arrived with his van. And the van, basically he did the last 100 meters with a dead van. Basically the van died. And so he arrived just by, you know, pressing the clutch and letting the kinetic force, you know, of the inertia of the car just arriving there. And then that was an issue because the van was not working anymore, and we were stuck in the middle of nowhere. It was like 2.5 hours away from the main city, and so we had to work out a way to solve that problem. But then it's like 7:30 a.m. in the morning, mechanics are not open, and then we have to wait, and then, you know, throughout the entire day, that was an issue. So we had to constantly be checking with the mechanics if they find that they might not have the part. Like, you're in the middle of nowhere, you know? And so it was a disaster. So throughout the entire day, that was overarching problem. And then the first half of the shoot went fine, apart from the extremely loud wildlife around you. But then the issue started when we wanted to film the last scene. We didn't scout location because it was too far away from main cities, so we couldn't scout it. And I looked on Google Maps and like, oh, there's a lake here. Well, let's go there. And then we take the car and we go down this slope. And I quickly realized that if we go down that slope, we're not going to be able to come back up because it was muddy and it was the cars were not like four-wheel drives, and I have like 20 something people helping me out, and they're not extremely good at driving those roads. You know, the city folks and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, let's just go back. But it took us like an hour to get off the mud, basically. And so I realized, I'm like, it's 3 p.m. and we have like 3 hours of available light, and we have like 7 pages to go through a script. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this is never going to work. This is never going to work. And so we decided to just do it in front of the house. There's still like a small lake. It was fenced off. It was a bit too contained.
And this is the scene where 3125, where the cosmic starfish sort of possesses the character.
That one, exactly. And so we get that. We film the older guy part because he then has to go into makeup, right? Because I spent like $1,000 making these prosthetics because they have the prosthetics legs, spider legs coming out, and the prosthetic leg that comes out from his eyes in the book. And so, okay, let's just do him. But we had some trouble. I think he had some issues with lines. And so we spent way too much time doing him. And then once we finished him and he went into makeup, I am so sorry for this, you know, with Tanya, which is Marion Wheeler. I turn around to Tanya. I'm like, Tanya, you have one medium shot and one close up. Just give me 3 pages of dialogue. And it was just like, we did all of that. And then the light was running out. And then, so we finished putting up the prosthetics on the guy. And we had to make a choice because we didn't have time. We couldn't put the prosthetics on the eye because that would take way too much time to put on. And so we go for this wide shot. And I look at the guy, you know, like this, walking with the prosthetic legs on. I look at him and I'm like, I start laughing. And my DP start laughing. And I'm like, they just look like 2 massive black dildos hanging out. And I'm like, this is never going to work. And also, it's basically the sun is set. And I don't know what to do. Because the idea was that, you know, they had a bit of a fight. And Tanya just trying to do a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, just, you know what, just do this, run towards it, and then Tanya, you just fall down, and then I will work it out in the edit. Because we were literally run out of light. The camera couldn't take any more light into it. And that's what happened, you know, and it's just, that one was also it wasn't the final day, it was the second last day that we had to shoot. I was stressed. I was out of my fucking mind. I wanted to die. I just wanted to go home and cry. And it was very, very stressful. And I finished that day. I'm like, I have no idea.
So what lessons did you learn from that day that made you a better filmmaker?
I would say you have to push people a bit more, because I think that if I had had the time, I will probably have gone through extensive rehearsal with the actors. The issue is that the actor, he flew down the night before. And so we didn't really have the time to rehearse too much. And also, you should scout location. You know, that one was just like it was way too hard for us because it was far away, and we will have to have slept there for scouting the location, which add to the cost and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, you know.
I will say, like, despite the grievances that you might have with episode 2 and all the stuff that you guys had kind of gone through, I still think that it was phenomenally well done. For everything that you guys had, like, especially like with the ending when Elle gets possessed or basically puppeteered by 3125, like the way you guys displayed it, like reaching into reality, like using his body, lifting him up. Like, I really enjoyed that. That was really well done. And I know it's like saying like you guys had like issues with trying to do that, but everything, despite all of that, you guys still did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Just to give credit where credit's due.
I'm just beginning my filmmaking journey, but coming out of a 20-year career and doing something else, like I've been in that situation where you have a plan, you have a vision, you have a schedule, you have all of these markers that you have to hit. And at the end of the day, the product that you produce, it's not what you envisioned. It's not what you originally had planned, but damn it, I got the job done. Like we delivered something and we got the job done. And that's just life. That's just part of the job. So you pulled it off. You pulled it off.
Yeah.
I mean, Kelsey, you're absolutely right. I don't think if you listen to any filmmaker, even the gods of filmmaking, you listen to Denis Villeneuve, to Tarantino, Nolan, whoever, and they always have something to say about the film that they made. They're always unhappy with something that they inside. So I guess it's always like that. It's that I feel like. To me, the issue that I had was that episode 2 standing between the rest of the episodes, you can see the drop in quality. Because if the entire film is that way, then it is that way. But because people work by contrast, right? So if you give them one thing that is 8 out of 10, then you give them something that is 4 out of 10, they will see the difference. So if you give them something that's 4 out of 10, maybe they don't really have a scale to measure it. In a way, and so.
And a lot of the stuff that makes it more intense is because the issues that you faced and the way that it affected production is all consolidated into that one episode.
That's what I'm saying.
Rather than that being broke up across 4 episodes and being it's all in that one episode. And everybody, here you can see right here everything that all of the problems that I have with this production, they're all right here. Here you go. Right. Watch this, and then we'll be back next week with something better.
Which is the reason why I pinned my comment on top, because I didn't want I try not to make a poor me comment, but it was more like, hey guys, I know this is a dip in quality, but the reason is because we had issues, and then I wanted the community to know. Which, by the way, I'm a big proponent that the audience should not care. Like, the audience doesn't care about how much effort you put into something. They only care about the results that you provide. And so that I feel like it's also good to let people know, like, hey, we encountered some issues. Just to let you know, we encountered some issues. Make whatever you want from this bit.
But at the end of the day, creator to creator behind the camera, God, we're tiny little creatures on this spinning ball of rock in the universe, right? And I can unless you have such a massive budget that you can have a backup location, that you can have the kind of resources that you would need to spend the night on location like that, you're at the mercy of the weather. You're at the mercy of what the sun does. You're at the mercy of what the clouds do. You could have an entire day of filming planned, and the clouds decide they want to be off and on all day. And
you're fine.
You can overcome that, but it's going to cost you time in resetting all of your camera settings and resetting your scene for the light. You're at the mercy of so many different things, and what you were able to pull off, even with episode 2, God, it's phenomenal.
Thank you.
And just to gush a little bit, just for a quick minute, like, so much about the show that you guys have done is phenomenal. Like, with set location, the props that you guys made, the antimemetic bomb, like, that was phenomenal. But also, like, the casting especially was on points. Like, and I think that really grab people's attention with episode 1, because especially with Tanya portraying Marion Wheeler, like, she quickly became a fan favorite, as I shared with you. Like some fans like making little fan cams of like gushing about her. And I don't remember the actor's name, but who played Alistair Gray in the first episode. Like like that actor like perfectly portraying a thing that's like imitating humanity, but just isn't quite there. Like there's just that subtle creepiness about it that you're saying like this thing isn't normal.
Obviously bravo to you, right, for pulling the whole thing together, and bravo to everybody who played a part in it. But your director of photography and your casting director, bravo.
Well, casting director was me, so
bravo.
There's no casting director. I was producer.
Your director of photography really did a phenomenal job, like getting all these shots set perfectly, like so professional looking and just overall clean looking at it. Like you hardly anyone could tell like if you guys were low budget or not, just from base of like how everything was shot. Like that was a phenomenal job.
He's great. Like Alistair Duffield, he's his name. He's amazing. I'm actually putting together a behind the scenes video to post on the channel, and I had him to, we had a chat about cinematography. But I think that what I want to point out is that this project was made by production design, and this goes to most of this came from Joseph Tiernan, which was our production designer. He made Antimemetics. Like without him, it wouldn't have been what it is. Because what happened was, this is crazy to me. This is a crazy story because he worked on a bunch of Netflix stuff, Joseph Tiernan, and as set decorator, as he worked on Shantaram as a standby prop guy. He did like big things. But he's an amazing production designer. And I reached out to him because I saw him working on feature film with some other people that I knew in the industry. And I was like, oh my God, that looks amazing. He did this set, which was incredible. And I'm like, oh my God, that looks amazing. I'm just going to try and reach out. And I reached out to him with the script, and I was like, "Hey, we're doing this thing, and always obviously trying to build value. Like this is about the SCP Foundation. There's like a built-in fan base. Your work is going to be seen. We're not gonna go to fucking festivals and then disappear for like a couple of years. This is something that we want to put out. We'll do a bunch of stuff for you." And I also told him, "You basically have almost more than half the budget for production design." Because I believe so much in production design. I think it makes a movie, especially with the Antimemetics division series. Like we need to put money into production design. And he was like, "Oh, this looks like a cool project. I will be happy to do it." And I was like, "Yeah, but like, what kind of fee we're talking about? Because we have the money that I have is for production design." Yeah. And he, knowing that he was basically almost like a Netflix production designer. And he was like, I got some time off. I'll do it for free. And I was like, what the?
Wow.
Wow. And I think that I'll have to ask him. I think what got him on the project was that I was very, very excited about production design. And I had almost all the money for production design. Like almost all the money of the budget, apart from like the accommodation and location, were for production design.
And no corporate hierarchy structure to tell him how to do his job.
No.
So you gave him an opportunity with a budget without limitations. He could go nuts with what he wanted to do.
And I was like, I value your input. You can do whatever you want within the limit of the money that I have. And also because I was like a producer, organizer, director, and I've done all of them, not because I'm cool, it's because we had nobody else to do it.
Yeah.
And so there was no there was no hierarchy, right? There was no one on top of it.
You
And I was
gave
like,
him the opportunity to be an artist, is what it
yeah,
sounds
I was
like.
like, do what you want. And I think I have this feeling that he did it just because he wanted to build a bomb. I think that was mostly he did a bunch of stuff. Because, but what was cool is that he brought all his people on set, which is the reason why in the credits, like the hard department is fucking like 30 people, and they weren't all the time on set. It was like just like the schedule was like it was like a Tetris. But it was the first time for me as a director going, okay, now we are making this scene where Paul answered, look through the phone and throw the phone. And I turn around and there is like one of Joe's assistant with a box. Inside there's like 10 mobiles, like 10 cell phones. And they asked me to pick the one that I like the most. And I was like, what the fuck, this is amazing. Like I didn't, you get on set and everything is ready for you for each scene that you worked out.
Wow.
And for me, it was incredible. That was an incredible experience for me to have. And I am forever grateful to Joe to just take a chance on what we did. And especially because he does massive stuff. So I am very grateful for him. And I think a lot of praise should go to him because he made Antimemetics. Yeah.
Bravo.
Are we still good on time right now? There's only okay. Yeah, there's about 3 more questions left. All right, next one. Besides Antimemetics Division, are there any other projects that you've done that you feel especially proud of in your career?
10,000 Years was probably the first one that I was very proud because it felt a bit more as a complete short film, and I think that we were able to have very nice locations, like the abandoned mine, for example, which we got for free as well. Fucking like I don't know, I think it was crazy to getting that location for free, and it felt, that short film felt a bit more as a story in the sense that there's like an intro, they jump back and forth between the guy inside the SCP room or whatever and the abandoned mine, and it felt like a complete story. And then it was also the first time that Jack Salzani, which is the guy who did the music and the audio on Antimemetics, that we worked together, and so he worked throughout the entire audio with me and the music with me, and it very much made it what it is as well. It elevated the production and the quality of the short film. While before I used to do everything. I used to edit, do the sound, fucking do all that kind of stuff. And instead, getting more people into it to help out and very much elevate the project. And so 10,000 Years was good. And then I think Parker as well was my first short film that I did in Australia, and that came out pretty good for being the first one. That I'm very proud. I think I'm very proud as a first short film. As I say, yeah, pretty much those two before Antimemetics. But I would say that I just as a tangent to your question, I think that one of the things I realized is that I need to make stuff that I really connect with. Because if I don't do that, it becomes more of an exercise, or I want to say a job because nobody's paying me.
Yeah.
But it becomes more like an exercise, and so you maybe don't put enough details or enough effort into it because maybe it's just an exercise. I have a bunch of short films that I made on my channel that are just exercise. But yeah, finding something that you connect with is probably the best way to make something, right?
Do you have plans to continue the Wheeler story? Because it's not Marion Wheeler when you continue into it. It's actually her husband, Adam.
Yeah.
That one, reading the story, it doesn't seem like the story that the part of the story that you've made that really adapts well to like the way that you did it. But I mean, talking about CGI and how difficult VFX are, wow, if you get into the 55555, the Adam Wheeler saga, that's going to have to be FX heavy. Are there any plans?
So there were no plans, which is the reason why at the start. So which is the reason why we there's a lot of people even on the in the comments on YouTube that was like there's no mention of Bart Hughes, there's no mention of that. I'm like, yeah, obviously, because we're not gonna do, like, the idea was not to make 555. And so because if I start dropping names of things that we are not even going to see moving forward, there's no point. It just distracts from the stuff that we're doing at the moment. And there was no plan, because I read the book and I'm like, this is fucking impossible. You know, like, this is gonna take way too much money. Seeing the reaction of the community, especially after the first couple of episodes, I was thinking about it. The issue with doing Adam Wheeler's story, basically the rest of the book, is that you probably need money. Like that, you need money that right now I don't have. So just as a very, very rough budget, back of a napkin kind of thing, will probably like 50 grand. Just as a back of the napkin, I'm probably not gonna pay a bunch of people, and also because I'm back in my hometown, I probably have a 50% of the location for free, right? Like that, I will still need 50 grand, and I have no idea how much VFX are going to cost, because there's some stuff that you can work around it,
Yeah, I mean, you have to have like fingers crawling around on the wall, and just that.
The most difficult thing, it's probably towards the end, where you have the Bar Hughes.
The confrontation.
Well, the confrontation, but then you have like Bar Hughes became this massive thing in a bathtub or something inside. Site 96 was it? I can't remember. And then you have the attack on the 05 side directors, Marion Wheeler, when they're inside the antimemetic school stuff, that they get attacked by SCP-3125. It's just very intense. I don't think there's no plan in the short term. We'll probably need to crowdfund there, but you won't need to go and end up asking, like, I want to say like 100 grand, and it's very hard. Like, it's very hard to crowdfund 100 grand, especially when you don't have as big as an audience, and it's not a tactical military pew thing, and so you miss out on all the audience and niche that has disposable income. A lot of the SCP Foundation fan base is very young people, and so they don't really have a lot of disposable income to crowdfund something, and so it's just very hard, I would say, that we are going to end up doing 5555. But I thought about it, and I would love to do it, obviously. Fucking love to do it.
So different question then, like, instead of asking what plans do you have for other projects in the future, what are SCP projects that would be on your wish list? Like, if somebody came to you and said, I'll give you whatever budget you need, what would you be making?
I will make well, to be honest with you, I've already done. So the other one that we filmed in Australia is one of my favorite SCP. So that one is done. But because it's an SCP entry, we built a story around it. But it's not like, it takes a bunch of SCPs and put them together, right? It's nothing crazy. Probably what I will do is a full-fledged SCP TV series. Like in a way that,
like an anthology or something.
No, not like a 8-part series that introduces, but probably not just for the SCP community. I will do it for everybody, and so you will have someone that enters the foundation and then discover the foundation, and then there's a overarching storyline, and that's about it. It's almost like like any TV series that introduces a new concept. If you think about Loki season 1 or Severance, like you enter this world and you need to understand the rules of it. And I think I will probably do something like that, because that will introduce more people to the SCP Foundation. That will also be, it can stand on its own without having to rely a lot on people knowing the lore a lot, because that's obviously an issue with SCP content. Like there's so much lore that sometimes you need to take some stuff for granted. Like amnestic, for example.
Yeah.
Like we know what amnestic are, but if you go to a normal person, they wouldn't know. And so probably doing like a full-fledged TV show about the SCP Foundation, but that is for everybody. Or like, still niche, but for people who don't know the SCP Foundation.
Something
but to be honest with you,
exposit while you tell the story.
Yeah, exactly. And people just kind of understand the word while you tell the entire story, and you have like an overarching narrative. And to be honest with you, though, I'm working on another two episodic SCP project. We're just in the writing stage, and I'm just like fitting a bunch of SCP entries or SCP ideas within what I want to do. Right, so it's actually pretty. To be honest with you, it's pretty perfect with the SCP Foundation, because you can, if I wanted to make a movie about a heist or a TV show about a heist, you can work SCP inside that. There's so many. Like you can work something into it and make an SCP Foundation heist movie if you really wanted to. So that's the beauty of it as well. Like I can do what I always wanted to do, but give it SCP flavor and being and put it inside this world. So yeah, to be honest.
Okay. So that's all the SCP type questions that we had prepared. Now, if you have a little while, I'd like to pick your brain person to person as, okay, so you guys, you said your DP came in and because of the work that you had already been doing sort of in the corporate world, you had all of or most of the gear already, so you were able to allocate more budget to set design and production design. So this has just been my take on it. I'm in my first cinematography class.
Yep.
Almost every other student in their class is using their iPhones.
Yep.
And okay, awesome. If this is what this is what you want to do. A lot of it is geared toward online content.
Yeah.
I went out and bought a Sony FX30 and rigged it up because this is what I want to do. And so I had a windfall. The funds were there. I put the money into the gear on the front end. That's why I'm switching over from PC to Mac, switching over from, I was using Filmora for editing, and now I'm switching over to DaVinci Resolve. Yeah. Which right now I'm just learning all the new languages, learning how to use this camera. And I bought multiple cameras, the FX30 and then the Sony ZV-E10s, which is sort of my backup, my B cams. And most of what I'm doing right now is like real estate.
Yeah.
So I'll go and do real estate videos and sell those to the agents that are trying to sell the houses, making money doing it, funding the creative projects that I want to do. Any recommendations for not necessarily like a brand of gear, but certain essential items maybe along the course of what you've been doing that you didn't I was showing Nolan at the very beginning. This is, out of everything that I've got, this is my favorite purchase because it stays where I want it. And I've been using a mic stand that drifts and it sags for 3 years, and I didn't realize how much this means to have your microphone be where you put it and it stays there. Along the line, have there been any certain pieces of equipment or pieces of gear that you've had that sort of realization about, like, this, I needed this and I didn't even know I did?
Okay, so yes. However, I think this question has two answers. Okay, I can give you the techie answer in a way. I can give you the gear side answer of it, but then I'm gonna give you your answer as well. So I'll say the thing that changed, that gave us a lot of, that for me it was great to have, for example, on Antimemetics, even when I worked on like business stuff, is wireless director monitor. So I will have this monitor in my hand, doesn't have cables and shit, I only have the battery, and it's wireless, so I can see the feed from the camera, and I can move around. It has like a belt or something, and you can just move around with it, and it's always there with you. And you can
always see what the camera sees.
Yeah, and this is cool because I don't have to. Sometimes they will put monitors on a stand, or if you have absolutely no money, you will have to look at the DP monitor over his shoulder. And so that for me was pretty cool in terms of that gives you the freedom to just be focused on what you're seeing to the camera, and not having to just juggle 1,000 things. And you can move around with I go talk to the actors. I still have my monitor on it. I can tell them to move here and there. I can see it. But you know what?
Yeah.
The thing is,
so you can actually step into the scene. You can step into the frame, reposition, and see what the DP sees. That's awesome.
Yeah, the thing is, and this brings me to the second answer that I want to give, is that this is a quality of life improvement that they're not needed if you want to make something. Because one of the things that people get very much bogged down by gear. And I was that way. I bought a Red camera when I first arrived in Australia after a couple of years, and it doesn't. I'm not gonna stand here and telling you that gear doesn't matter. I think it does at a certain level, but it's also true that if you are just trying to create content, creating films, short films, and that kind of stuff, most of your money should go into in front of the camera. So I will prefer to have normal set of lenses instead of renting out cine lenses, but take that budget and get in a fucking amazing location instead of using those lenses. Because at the end of the day, the 98% of the audience, they have no idea what gear is, or the camera that you use, or they only care about the results that you put out. And so gear, it matters, but it doesn't really matter if that bogs you down into creating. Like, I for example, right now I have Blackmagic camera, which is the DaVinci Resolve company, right? I love them. They cost fuck all and they're amazing. They cost like $2-3 grand or whatever, and they're incredible. The new Blackmagic camera came out, the Pixis, which is like $3 grand. I'm like, fuck yeah, that's amazing, I'm gonna buy it. And then I stop and I think, no, I'm not gonna buy it. I already have a camera. What I'm going to buy instead, I need two things. Lights. Lights is something that one DP can shoot on your Sony, or like a Sony A7 III or whatever. But if the DP doesn't have light, there's nothing to do.
You're not going to get anything.
There's nothing to do, right? So I'm probably going to invest in lights. And then the rest of the money that I save, I'm probably going to put it towards accommodations and fees for actors to come down, right? Because then I can put it in front of the camera and getting all the location. That's way more important, I think, which is the reason why, to me, it works so well on Antimemetics. We had everything. We didn't have to spend money on it, and everything went in front of the camera instead of behind. That's probably like the best answer I can give you, I'll say.
Yeah, that's good information to have. Yeah, like where I am right now and why I wanted to put it into the gear. So I came from 20 years in the military.
Okay.
And I know what it's like to try to learn on the things that you're not actually going to be using, or learning on like, you know what I'm saying? Like you had to learn on substandard gear, or learn with like things that weren't even real, like they were practice things. And I was like, if I'm stepping into this and I'm learning how to do it, I'm going to learn how to do it on the things that I'm also going to be using. Another factor for me is age. I'm 41 years old.
Yep.
Getting into it. What I don't want to do is learn and then have to learn again and then have to learn again. Let me just step right into it. I can do it. But yeah, lights, and that's the next thing on my list.
Yep.
Lights. I've got a couple of cheap, I think, what is the Neewer? I got a couple of Neewer
they're good lights,
soft boxes. Yeah, they're good lights, and you can control the light temperature and everything. They're not very bright, and they're not not directional. So that's the next step, is directional lights. But yeah, the first thing that I did was I built my set. I host a podcast for a real estate group, and this is my set for SCP Weekly. But I've got an entire. I'm blessed to have a house, like the basement of my house is my studio. So I have the editing space, and then I actually have a studio set up over here. And then being in real estate, my locations are already provided to me. And that's another, I didn't even plan it that way. I have access to so many vacant properties. Like all I have to do is make a phone call and say, hey, I would like to actually film at your property today. Can I do it for free, or would you just rent it to me for a day? I'll give you this. And I haven't had any issues getting access to properties. So
nice.
Thank you for that. Didn't even think ahead of time. But
but that's a massive thing, Kels, because one of the things that we did even on Antimemetics is we asked for location. Like for example, the university location that we had at the start, I knew someone that worked there as a teacher. And I told her, can you give us the university on the weekends, obviously, because you can't do it. Yeah. And I will make a video for you, right? So you don't even have to pay. You do like an exchange of services, especially because you have value to offer, right?
Yes.
Because you do, but this can be done with anyone. Like if someone has a restaurant and wants to make a movie, they can go like, hey, come bring your entire business to eat for free as a company dinner or whatever, and then you give me a location or something like that. And you can build those relationships, because sometimes they might work even better than money, because because if you make a video and might provide 5 times more value to them than if you give them like $300 or $500 per day, right? And so that is allows them two things for you, especially because you do this as a job. It allows you to show what you can do with your work, which might lead to more work.
Portfolio.
Yeah, exactly. And also they might, maybe it's someone that you haven't worked with before, and they're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then they see the quality of your work, and then down the line, they will hire you for more stuff. That it also allows you to provide a 10x more value to them instead of just the money. And I think that goes way more of a long way than just paying a fee. But the other thing I wanted to tell you was that I understand what you're saying about the gear, learning on the proper stuff. I also think that learning how to use the camera will take you 8 hours, right? Learning how to compose, frame, light, color theory, blocking, rehearsal, position, that kind of stuff takes years. And so I understand like you want to learn on the proper stuff, but also I think that what are the most important things to learn are not the technical side of it.
They're all the things that are in front of the camera.
Right? Because you can, my DP can make a shot look amazing with an iPhone. I suck, right? Like, I mean, I'm not as good as him. In the same way that editing software, like it took me 8 hours to learn Premiere Pro, but then learn how to actually make a good edit. And that's a completely different story. It takes forever, it takes years. So yeah, that's makes you like things that I want to say.
Love it. Oh, one last, like, before we go question. So, like, how navigating the Creative Commons space, how much of that was a concern for you in deciding like what you were going to make and what kind of stories you were going to pull?
Oh, zero. We started from like, we knew it from the start. It's one of those things that you're like, this is what it is. You can't change it. I think it's also, there's a lot of people in the comment that don't understand the CC license, to be honest, because they're like, you get get Netflix to give you money. I'm like, this is like that doesn't work that way. Like it's one of the best thing of the foundation. It's also one of the not one of the worst thing. It's just like it doesn't allow for the IP to be controlled by anyone, which is a good thing. But on the other side, you won't have AAA SCP video game. You won't have tentpole movie about the SCP formation, which is fine.
It makes it really hard to get that major funding outside of collecting donations from the community.
It's fine that I think it's fine that way, especially when you look at some of the creepypasta movies that have been made, and still they're not like they are what they are. And so I think that it's cool that way. We can't change it. There's nothing that very much we can do about it. One thing I wanted to say before I leave is you gotta say to DJ Cactus that I fucking love him. Like you have to say you have to say it to him, because you guys have you have it next time or something.
Yeah, so DJ Cactus watches the show. We don't have to tell him when he comes on. He's gonna like, if you've got something you want to say to DJ Cactus, say it right now, and we'll open with it.
Yeah, man, I just fucking love all of his entries. Like, I haven't read all of them, obviously, but I think that DJ Cactus is probably one of the best writers on the wiki, because one of the things that I love that he does is that he built some sort of trauma within the SCP entry that he makes, and so that gives it so much more emotional depth into the entry, instead of being just like a monster or like a cool thing or something like that. He builds like some sort of like human trauma inside, like, because I've done. Oh my god, it's so amazing, man. I remember even when I was reading Echoes of Yesterday, it has this kind of like feeling I can't really find anywhere else on the SCP Foundation. That one, 10,000 Years, was great. I don't know, like, he should just write books and make stories like that, because he's great. Another one that I love is This Madness, A Quiet Thing Made, something like that, I think. I don't remember.
Yeah, This Madness, A Quiet Thing. This Madness, A Quiet Thing Made. I keep mixing up the name.
Yeah, This Madness, A Quiet Thing Made, I think, something like that. All right, anyway. This thing, A Quiet Madness Made. That's what.
Yeah,
that's
it.
This thing, A Quiet Madness Made.
And you read through it, and it's just fucking phenomenal, man. And then at the end, you find out that basically it's because they this teenage girl that was on the cheerleading team got pregnant, and then everybody just slut shamed her, and she kind of killed the baby girl, something like that. And it's just so much built into it. It's just such an emotional, real, and raw story that you cannot find a lot. Like, obviously there are all this stuff, but you can't find that depth that comes from DJ Cactus writing in most of the entries. I think he is a phenomenal writer, and I love him. I fucking love it. I've never met him, but like, I just love his work. It's great.
Yeah, Cactus actually was the first thing that I came across when I first introduced onto the wiki. When I first joined, I came across SCP from finding the Exploring series YouTube channel, and it was his series that he did on Cactus's 001 proposal, the Ouroboros cycle.
The Ouroboros cycle, which is fucking amazing, man.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I listened to the entire series. I was enamored with it. And then I actually read it for myself, and I fucking fell in love with the SCP at that point.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and spending time with us, 6 hours around the world away. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you guys. Thank you for having me. As always, I love talking about filmmaking first and then the SCP Foundation a lot.
Awesome. And we'll be in touch. Like, as I get through this and start experiencing some of the challenges as I learn.
Yeah, please.
I'm definitely going to reach out and Andrea, how do I deal with this? You've been there before. Help me. Help an old man.
Yeah. 1,000%. I'm always available.
All right. Tell everybody bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Damn, feeling lucky. How about most streets? Us two in these streets. Diamonds on my feet. Caught up in these talks. Circling my head top. Should've been more cautious. Now I got what I wanted. Many I've been here before. Made it out of 11 more. Like my frontal cortex sore. I can't stop, I want it all. Listen up, I'm calling you. I need you to tell the truth. Remember when you wanted to. Remember that I said was you. Turn and eat your greens. When you fight, but you do real clean. Then you come to the bed and you love real dirty. It's everybody sweater drops, you're real keen. Bring it, let me get your juiciest piece. Can't remember when I've had the same please. The shops of the club never had no boundary. How's it gonna be? You wanna eat these centipedes? Where we gonna go? You're gonna need these calories. Giving me a treat to refill these batteries. Then you only them on your knees, there's no way to dream. Ooh, it's sneaking up on you. There's nothing you can do. There's things about the boo.